There is a quiet lie that follows you everywhere, a soft whisper that sounds harmless, almost comforting, yet it has stolen more dreams, more potential, and more lives than failure, rejection, or fear ever could. And the lie is this: your real life will begin later. Later, when you feel ready. Later, when things finally calm down. Later, when you're confident, or healed, or successful, or certain. And without even noticing it, you start postponing the very life you're meant to live, telling yourself you're preparing, when in reality, you're waiting for a moment that never arrives, waiting for a version of yourself that never appears, waiting for a future that slowly collapses under the weight of hesitation. But here's what no one tells you. The lie of later is the most subtle form of self-betrayal. Think about this for a moment. How many times have you felt a pull towards something, a desire to begin, a spark of inspiration, only to bury it under the gentle promise that you'll return to it someday? How many versions of you have died in the name of not yet? If you're honest, you might realize that the average life doesn't begin with failure. It begins with delay. And if something inside you feels this, aches with this, recognizes this, then stay with these words, because this right now might be the moment where the lie loses its power over you. The philosopher Alan Watts said something that slices through the illusion. This is the real secret of life, to be completely engaged with what you are doing in the here and now. He believed that the obsession with the future is not ambition, but escape, a desperate attempt to avoid confronting the rawness of the present moment, because the present moment demands responsibility, presence, and action, while the future is perfect, effortless, safe. But the future is an illusion. It's a projection we create to avoid the discomfort of right now. Carl Jung, in his exploration of the unconscious mind, described this avoidance as the refusal of one's inner calling, a kind of spiritual procrastination where a person senses who they could be yet fears the transformation required to become it. Jung believed that ignoring this inner call doesn't make it disappear, it simply buries it deeper, turning it into anxiety, frustration, emptiness, and a haunting sense that something essential is being left undone. And Viktor Frankl, writing from the depths of human suffering, offered a harsh truth. Life is never made unbearable by circumstances, but only by lack of meaning and purpose. The average life is not born from hardship, but from the quiet erosion of purpose, not because purpose is absent, but because it is perpetually postponed. Now ask yourself, how many years of your life have been spent waiting for the right moment, waiting for clarity, waiting for confidence, waiting for motivation, waiting for a sign that now, finally, you are allowed to begin? But here's the paradox. You don't gain readiness before you start. You gain readiness because you start. This is the truth that most people never confront, and because of this, they stay trapped in a state the psychologist Napoleon Hill called hypnotic rhythm, where the patterns of delay become automatic, where the lie of later becomes a lifestyle, where days turn into years, and the life you were meant to live dissolves into the one you settle for. And if you're not careful, the lie becomes so familiar that it starts to feel like truth. Think about how this lie grows inside of you. It begins in childhood when you're told to wait for permission, to wait for the right time, to wait until you're older, or stronger, or wiser. You grow up internalizing the belief that your desires must first be justified, that your dreams must first be validated, and that your life must unfold according to some invisible schedule. Then adulthood arrives with its responsibilities, its chaos, its doubts, and suddenly, the waiting takes on new forms. I'll start when I have more time. I'll change when I meet the right people. I'll act when the fear goes away. I'll live when life settles down. But life never settles. Fear never disappears. Clarity never arrives fully formed. And waiting becomes a habit, a quiet surrender disguised as caution. Carl Jung warned that the boundary between fear and fate is thinner than we think. What we refuse to face within ourselves inevitably becomes the architect of our destiny. By not choosing, you're still choosing. By waiting, you're still moving, just not toward the life you want. The American philosopher Alan Watts spoke often about this cultural obsession with preparing for life, describing how people spend their entire existence getting ready to live, yet never actually living. He said we become like students, endlessly sharpening pencils, but never writing a single word. Always preparing, never expressing. Always waiting, never beginning. And isn't that the average life? A life spent rehearsing instead of performing. A life spent imagining instead of becoming. A life spent pretending you have infinite time when you do not. This is the lie that traps you. The belief that the right moment will come on its own. But moments don't arrive fully formed. They are shaped by your presence, your courage, your willingness to begin before you feel ready. As Friedrich Nietzsche wrote, "He who has a why can bear almost anyhow." But what we forget is that discovering your why requires movement, not perfection, not certainty, not confidency, just movement. Dreams are not found by thinking, but by stepping. There is a deeper reason behind the lie, one that most people never admit to themselves. The lie of later isn't just a time-based illusion. It's a psychological shield, a way to protect yourself from confronting what scares you most. The possibility of failure, the exposure of your true potential, the responsibility of becoming someone new. If you don't start, you cannot fail. If you don't try, you cannot be judged. If you don't commit, you cannot lose. Delay becomes safety. Procrastination becomes comfort. Passivity becomes protection. But in protecting yourself from failure, you also protect yourself from becoming, and this is where Viktor Frankl's perspective becomes essential. He believed that meaning is not discovered through thought, but through action, responsibility, and choice, through stepping into life fully, even with uncertainty, even with fear. Avoidance does not preserve your purpose, it smothers it. Now ask yourself sincerely, are you delaying because the time isn't right? Or because the challenge feels too real? And if the answer is the second, which it almost always is, then you've discovered the root of the lie. The truth is this: you don't fear the world rejecting you. You fear the world seeing you. You don't fear starting. You fear what starting demands of you. You don't fear the path forward. You fear letting go of the identity that has kept you safe. And until you confront this, you will live an average life, not because you lack potential, but because you lack permission. Permission that only you can give yourself. But here's the part most people never grasp. The moment you stop waiting for life to begin, life begins. The moment you stop waiting for a better version of yourself, the current version is enough. The moment you stop postponing your calling, the path reveals itself. Carl Jung believed that every person holds an inner blueprint, a path of a unique direction the soul is trying to take. And he insisted that the greatest suffering arises not from external failures, but from refusing that inner path. Alan Watts echoed this beautifully, saying that life is not a problem to be solved, but an experience to be lived fully, moment to moment, without postponement. And Viktor Frankl, writing from the darkest conditions imaginable, still believed that meaning is waiting for us in every moment, and that purpose is not something you find later, but something you choose now. So consider this deeply. What if the only thing separating you from the life you were meant to live is the decision to begin today, imperfectly, quietly, without permission, without certainty, without waiting? Because the lie that keeps you trapped in an average life is not a lie told by the world. It is a lie told by your fear, your hesitation, your belief that the future will rescue you from responsibility. But the truth is simple. Later never comes. Someday is not a day. And the life you want cannot unfold until you step onto the path that leads there. So, take one step, just one, and everything will begin to shift. Because movement, even the smallest movement, breaks the illusion of later. This is not a motivational slogan. This is a psychological reality. This is how lives change. This is how destinies are rewritten. This is how extraordinary begins. If this message spoke to you, subscribe to Becoming You and keep growing with us. And if you watched until the end, comment the word awakening and share your thoughts below.